Carrie, from 1976, directed by Brian De Palma. Now, the reason why I'm reviewing this movie today is because a lovely subscriber sent this movie to me in my P.O. box, and the P.O. box is in the description box down below. So if you guys want me to review any movie, I will guarantee you a video if you send it to me down in the P.O. box. So Jason, shout out Jason, thank you so much. And it was also perfect timing because my girlfriend actually surprised me on Halloween weekend with a trip to downtown Vancouver to the Rio Theater to watch none other than Carrie from 1976. And it was actually my first time ever watching it. And now, I'm here to give you my thoughts. Hey guys, my name is Brandon, aka the BrandoCritic, and I want to say thank you so much for being here today, guys. I really do appreciate it. And today I'm going to give you my honest, no BS review for Carrie and tell you if it's still worth a watch and still holds up today. Make sure you stick around to the end, guys, so that you know my rating of the film and you know the secret phrase to leave in the comment section down below so that I know that you made it to the end of the video. And like I say in every other video, this is just my own personal opinion, guys. So if you guys love the movie, hate the movie, or anything in between, let me know your thoughts of Carrie down in the comment section down below. Now, let's get started. So, we have Carrie from director Brian De Palma, and you know him from such films as Snake Eyes, and The Untouchables, and Scarface, and Mission Impossible, and Body Double, and Dressed to Kill. The guy's made a lot of movies over the years. And it stars Sissy Spacek, Piper Laurie, Amy Irving, Betty Buckley, Nancy Allen, William Katt, John Travolta, and many others. Now let's get into the story. So in Carrie, we have, well, Carrie, played by Sissy Spacek, who is a shy, sheltered 16-year-old girl. She is unpopular and bullied by the other girls in school, but she also lives with her extremely religious and erratic mother, Margaret, played by Piper Laurie. Carrie also might have some telekinetic powers as well. As the film starts, Carrie gets her first period and freaks out as she was never told about menstruation, and the other girls bully her by mocking her and by throwing tampons before being saved by gym teacher Miss Collins, played by Betty Buckley. The girls who bullied her are given a week's worth of detention, along with the threat from Miss Collins that if anyone doesn't attend detention, they will be suspended and miss the prom. The most popular girl, Chris, played by Nancy Allen, can't stand this detention and walks out and vows revenge on Carrie. Now, is this movie worth a watch? Absolutely. This movie is, quite frankly, amazing. And Jason, I'm so thankful that you sent this to me on Blu-ray because I'm being honest here. I'm going to be watching this movie every single Halloween from here on out because this movie is just quite fantastic. I loved it. It's extremely entertaining. It's fun, yet it's spooky and it's tense. It's well made. There's a reason why this movie is as famous as it is. A movie doesn't just become famous and last the test of time for just being mediocre. Now, on a surface level, the movie is about a girl who gets bullied by a bunch of other girls, and then she takes revenge on them with her telekinetic power. That's the surface level stuff. And on the surface, it's still a really good movie, but this movie explores a lot of deeper themes. Themes of bullying, overprotective parenting, religion, revenge, women and sexuality. This movie has a lot under the surface that really is the meat of the movie. There's a lot to chew on here. Now, I want to talk about Margaret, Carrie's mother. Quite frankly, let's just be honest, guys. She is an absolute nutcase. Now, I'm not shitting on religion by any means, but you can clearly tell if you watch this movie, there's something wrong with this woman. She is so afraid of sin that she ends up being extremely overbearing and downright abusive towards her daughter. And she's especially controlling, trying to protect her daughter from the sin of sexuality. Obviously, Carrie just got her period, but the blood of the devil is now here. We have to try to stop her from growing up. We gotta pray away her puberty. Yeah, we're talking like really nutty stuff. But when you see how her mother treats her, you're thinking to yourself, how in the world is Carrie supposed to act? How is she supposed to think? If everything is a sin, well, then Carrie's gonna be afraid of literally everything. And what's even sadder is that since the mother is so afraid of sin, there's really no room for any virtue either. And that leads into the theme of revenge. If you feel like you've been wronged, get even. At least that's what this movie tells us. And wanting to get revenge on someone or get even is a very human trait, even though we might be wrestling with our own morality going, you know what, let's take the high road, because sometimes people will say that the best revenge is actually living well. But there's always that part of us, that little devil on our shoulder that says, no, get even. And what's interesting about this revenge in Carrie's eyes is that she is raised to believe that God is this angry, vengeful entity that needs to be feared. So when Carrie commits these vengeful acts against her bullies, she doesn't think of it as a wrong thing to do, it's actually a righteous thing to do. And revenge is a cycle. Chris bullies Carrie. Chris gets punished for it from the teachers, so she wants to take revenge on Carrie. Then Carrie takes revenge on her. It is a very vicious cycle, which does lead into the idea and the theme of bullying. Now, I think that all of us have dealt with bullies in some way, shape, or form, whether that be at school or the workplace or with friends or family. Whatever the case may be, maybe you have been the bully or you have been bullied. I think all of us have been both at one point in our lives, but this movie shows us that free will and morals go completely out the window when dealing with a group of people or a herd, right? The mob mentality. Human beings have a very primal instinct to try to fit in, because when we were evolving, we survived in groups. We could hunt the woolly mammoth and hunt for food if we worked together as a group. But if you're ostracized, if you're excluded from the group, that quite literally meant that you were gonna die. A saber-toothed tiger could just eat you up. Now, in today's society, it's not that bleak, but we still have this innate need to try to fit in with the group. And especially in high school, people are starting to come to terms with that. So right at the beginning of the movie, you see that no one comes to Carrie's aid other than the teacher, because the herd mentality, you feel like it'd be better to fit in with the group doing something completely terrible to this young girl, Carrie, than to stand up for her. It's easier to fit in with the crowd. However, because of this, Carrie resorts to violence. And that's another theme of the movie, violence. Violence is a form of power. And especially since that Carrie is telekinetic, she wants to use that to gain power, to get revenge and be vengeful towards her other bullies. And I think that a lot of people can relate to her in this scenario, because growing up, and I won't get too far enough on a tangent with my pity story, but I was bullied a lot in school. I was a bright, smart, quite nerdy kid. I mean, look behind me, guys. I have a lot of nerdy shit there. I was the Star Wars nerd. I was the Pokemon kid. I was just that nerdy guy. And unfortunately for me, I didn't really hit puberty until I was about 15, 16 years old. And then I just hit that huge growth spurt. I'm 6'8" now. But in high school, I was not that tall at all. I was a very short, scrawny kid. So of course, all the football guys, all the dumb jocks, I was the easy target. And let's be honest here, guys, if you guys have been bullied before, you know that there's that one little voice in your head that wants to take violent revenge against these people. How are these dumb, stupid, boring people taking advantage of you like that, and they're the popular ones even though they have nothing interesting to say? Now, I'm not condoning violence by any means, but we gotta be honest, guys, we have a little bit of light in us and we also have some darkness, and when you're bullied, you do have those dark thoughts come up. And I don't think I'm speaking out of the ordinary with this one. Now, that's all the deeper stuff. Those are all the themes and the messages. Those are the real interesting human aspects of the film to really chew on. But the film itself is really well made, because I believe that this movie has a great balance between horror and teen rom-com. And the movie is structured and shown to us like a teenage rom-com, but there are little hints of horror thrown in there. And the movie to me feels like a volcano, because you know that just at any moment, it could erupt. On the surface, it's this light-hearted, kind of funny teenage romantic comedy. Oh, this girl's getting bullied, and then this nicer guy's trying to ask her out to the prom, yada, yada, yada. We've seen this story before, but we have this really overbearing religious mother. You have a girl with powers, and you just know that the film could just tip right into the horror section and just explode. And that's exactly what this film does. And it's a perfect crescendo and build up to that eruption, right up until that final moment, because you still think that there's some hope, and you still think, you know what, maybe this film doesn't go into that direction. There's still a little bit of doubt there. But then, I mean, I guess spoiler alert, once it does go into that horror element, it just erupts. It just explodes, and it's wonderful to see. So that dynamic adds a level of tension throughout the entire movie, which is great for a horror film. Now, Sissy Spacek, who's our main character in this movie, is absolutely phenomenal. She really just captures this role perfectly. Now, you're able to sympathize with her because she is this girl who doesn't know anything because her mother didn't teach her anything about this kind of stuff, menstruation and dating and puberty, growing up, sexuality, all this stuff. She's very quiet, she's shy, she's passive. We're able to empathize with her. But when she explodes and she takes the reign and she becomes a woman and she becomes the aggressor in the situation, she's now in the driver's seat, man, she just commands the screen, and her eyes just show it all. You see all the hurt from the past and all the power. You see the evil, but yet you understand why she's doing these things. Her eyes just express so much in this movie. And Piper Laurie as Margaret the mother, she's terrifying. Absolutely terrifying. Now, I will admit that some of her scenes are very over the top and can go into the whole campy movie from the 70s type of vibe, which might turn some people off. But I think that that really just adds to the charm of this movie, and I do find it more scary than funny, because I do know some overbearing mothers out there who have just really controlled their kids and turned these kids into these walking nightmares. I also like how this movie shows us the traumatic moments from Carrie's point of view. Now, again, I'll go back into my own personal life. I remember in grade 1, there was something on the PA system, kind of like this hot lunch or this sports day thing, and I was a very passionate, excited kid, and I jumped up and I'm like, yeah! I mean, it's pretty cheesy, but looking back on it, apparently I went really red in the face and I was just extremely excited. And then for a split second, it seemed like time had stopped, and I look around in the entire class, every single person was laughing at me. Like, oh my God, Brandon, calm down. And as a 6-year-old, it's traumatizing, right? When every single person is, they're all gonna laugh at you, right? Just like the mother says. The world kind of slows down and you can kind of see everything in slow motion, and it shows it perfectly. When Carrie's standing up there on the stage and she sees every single person looking at her, it's quiet, it's in slow motion, and it's just the worst moment of her life followed right after the best moment of her life. And speaking about that, I love the duality of this film. When the movie starts, it's very romantic, it's very fruitful. There's a lot of nudity, but it's not shown in an overly sexualized way. It's about like the innocence and the fertility of a woman. It's very graceful. And then hard cut that to blood and the trauma starting for Carrie. And then right at the end, Carrie is asked out to the prom by this wonderful boy who we can argue actually starts to like her and is a very sweet boy. And it's the best moment of her life, and she is being shown off to the school. She's looking beautiful in her dress and she's waving, and she's finally being recognized after a lifetime of feeling like she's been in the passenger seat and she hasn't been seen before. Then of course, hard cut, here comes the blood. And that's when we see that she is no longer passive. She is now a woman. She's going to take actions into her own hands. Now, there are some negatives of the movie, right? No movie is absolutely perfect, but there are only 3 moments in the movie I felt lacked clarity, and then there's only one aspect where I'm like, I'm not the biggest fan of it. Lack of clarity moment number 1. Our character named Sue, who is one of the bullies in the beginning of the movie, I don't really understand her motivation to get her boyfriend, or at least the guy that she's talking to invite Carrie to the prom. Is it because she has an evil plan of her own? Is she just trying to do something nice for Carrie? Or is she just trying to absolve her own guilt? Now again, guys, I haven't read the book. I understand that these elements would probably be more fleshed out in the book especially, but just from the movie standpoint, the lack of motivation is pretty clear. Or I guess the motivation is unclear. That's a better way of saying it, right? Number 2, and I think this is actually the biggest one, Tommy's death. Tommy being the boy who actually asks out Carrie to the prom. Now, when the bucket of blood is poured onto Carrie at the end, again, spoilers, I never said this was going to be a non-spoiler review, and of course you see Tommy going, who did this? This is so awful, but then the bucket falls on his head, and after doing some research, I did find out that it did kill him. But in the movie, it's not very clear. I think maybe one shot where you pan down and his eyes are like open and there's like a bunch of blood near his head, that could have made it more clear, because when Carrie is just destroying the school and just bursts it into flames, Tommy's not saved. So I thought, did she just kill him as well? It wasn't clear on that point. And thirdly, there's a lot of slapping women in this movie. Now, is that an allegory for women's liberation, right? Like when Carrie takes things into her own hands and she burns up the school and takes revenge, is that more of a liberation kind of thing? Again, not too sure about that. But my only real moment where I'm like, this is really cheesy, is John Travolta's acting. Not much to say about that. But regardless of that, I think this movie is absolutely fantastic. It's well paced, it's well made, it's extremely entertaining. I'm so happy to give out this rating, guys. I'm gonna give Carrie a 5 out of 5. I love giving out this rating, and that's the thing. Even when a movie is made in 1976, especially when a lot of people only watch movies from today, we're missing out, guys. Go watch movies from back then, and I think that Carrie is definitely one of the ones that you should check out. So those are my thoughts on Carrie. What are yours? Leave them down in the comment section down below. And Jason, thank you so much for sending me this in the mail. If you guys want to send me anything, the P.O. box is down below, and I will guarantee a video made about it. I also want to plug in my Patreon. We do movie nights every single month, and I give you guys new 4Ks every single month, so if that interests you, the Patreon is down in the description box below. And the secret phrase is, the Monsters Inc. theme song is fantastic. There we go. Hit like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Take care.